Alrighty, this is the real stream. We should have all the good settings now, all the ones we love so much. Let me just see if I can get this link going in a couple places. Yeah, I have to remember, it looks like whenever I start, the audio immediately doesn't know what it's doing. So I have to do the little thing where I change its setting and then change it back to the actual mic I use. I turned up the gain a little bit on the mic this time. So if it's too loud, let me know. But from what I've seen, the streams are generally, my voice is a little quiet, at least for my taste. So I don't feel like it should be an issue. Welcome, Zatch Bell Gamer. Good to see you here already. I don't know if I should maybe give people a couple other minutes to settle in. Some interesting stuff happening this week in pop culture and in real life. We got a Marvel show and a DC show in the span of the same 24 hours, and apparently they're both quite good. One of those I can vouch for, because I watched the first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along, which is an MCU universe show, and they are quite good, which is very nice, because the MCU has not been all that great lately, especially in the TV realm. The DC show is The Penguin, which is really, from what it seems like, not going to bear much of a resemblance to the actual Batman universe. It seems more just like a crime show, but the reviews are incredible, and I am probably going to watch that after the stream tonight. Let me turn the ceiling fan here. Other than that, we're definitely getting into a big season for video games. Already we have a couple big re-releases coming out right now. Dead Rising just came out. Epic Mickey, which was a platformer for the Wii that I've always wanted to play, also coming out very soon. And a couple days after that, a brand new top-down Zelda game, often referred to as 2D Zelda, though it's not strictly 2D anymore. And that looks very cool. I'm trying to get through Link to the Past for the SNES to sort of prep for that. I've never fully played that game. That's one of the most famous Zelda games. And then beyond that, we just have a ton more games that are coming out towards the end of the year. But the crazy real life thing that happened was there was a new guy who joined our IT team at work. I do IT at a call center here in Orlando, Florida. And he joined, he worked here for a couple weeks, and we all liked him pretty well. He seemed like a cool guy. He was actually knowledgeable about IT going in, which almost none of us were who are currently on the team. We all had to learn. And we all kind of liked him. Then this week, I don't work Mondays. He was apparently here Monday. So I didn't see that, but he was here. And apparently there was nothing anyone noticed that was strange going on. Tuesday, which was my first day of the week, he didn't come in. Wednesday, he didn't come in. That was when people really started noticing, like, okay, this guy's he's new. He's like been here for like less than 14 days total. If he doesn't come in tomorrow and he doesn't call us or anything, we're just gonna let him go. We're not gonna wait around for this guy. He's brand new. He did come in today, early morning. He apparently drove up in his motorcycle, met the security guard outside, handed her his security badge, and then just left and said, told her that he quit. So we have no idea why that happened. We're trying to puzzle it out. We've come up with a million theories. We really don't know why. Excuse me. So that's been really strange, and that's been a really interesting thing that happened to me. But that's pretty much what's been going on. I can probably just get going with the chapter now. Hopefully we have some more people join in. But chapter 25 felt like a long way for this chapter. There was actually not a break, you know? We had just the regular month. It would have been hell if there was a break. But it kind of felt like there was a break, you know, with everything that happened last chapter. And there is so much to get into this chapter. Okay, I always think I sometimes I'm such a jittery guy, but sometimes I can be so still that I think the stream is frozen, which it's not. Snap is the best. Hey, welcome. Good to see you back. Yeah, who knows? It's definitely possible, but that's really odd. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't even bother. It would have to be a much better job. Anyway. So starting off, we have the Dr. Riddle's hospital from above. It's a weird-looking building, right? It's got these two outdoor areas, but surrounding that is a big enclosed building that looks like it has maybe a couple floors to it. And it's just all that building. Not many hospitals look like that. I can tell you that. And we see the body of Dr. Riddles. He's lying in state in this, just maybe a morgue or something. And Vino is standing over it, looking forlorn. Maybe because his adopted father didn't say anything to him before he died, as we discussed last time. So then we cut from that morose scene to Kyo getting patched up. Right then. I think that should cover all your injuries. Those painkillers will be enough for now, but when they start to wear off, make sure to take those prescription meds I gave you. Thanks, doctor. Kyo comes out. It's a classic sort of waiting room scene after someone dies in a show, right? Everyone's just looking down in the dumps. You see some of the Majestic 12 back there. You see Coral Q, who, in keeping with the gag of him suffering, feeling pain and suffering human-like injuries despite being a robot, is also a little bandaged up. And everyone is just very down in the dumps from the unfortunate death of Dr. Riddles. Zatch is crying. Kyo starts to cry. Big Boing is just, we've never seen her like this, I tell you. And Coral Q is crying. Grub is looking down. Suddenly we hear clap. I intentionally made that not that loud. Kiyomaru, Gash, we can't just stay miserable forever, can we? It's Vino. I don't know if he's spoken before now. Vino, you're right, but come on, this way. There are some people I want you to see. Right in here. He opens the door, and suddenly Zatch is tackled. Oh, my poppy! He skids to a stop, still holding Zatch. You're not my poppy! Rupa? Yes, it's Lupa, or Rupa, from the first series. Purio's partner. They weren't exactly fan favorites, but they were well-liked enough. Oh, there's a familiar face. Yep, that's Gash, all right. It's Jeed, Ted's partner. We get this 2-page spread of several of the partners that have come there, along with Rupa. Seeing Zatch from behind like this, it's like, oh, he is older. Because normally when you see his face, it's like, oh, it's the same face. He has his hands bandaged up too from getting the poison or the acid, whatever it is, the dust that Blue was releasing. So behind Jeed, we can see a couple people we know and a couple people we don't know. We see Apollo here, who has as little dialogue as ever in this chapter. We see who looks to be Harry Jet, Yaron's partner. I'm going to do a little bragging this chapter and say, first of all, that kind of was my guess for this guy when I saw him in this spread. I was like, if that's anyone, and I was like, listen, Raiku's like, he's having this guy stare straight at us. If this is a guy that we know, it's that guy. But then we have a couple of people that we don't know. we have a guy in full cowboy regalia. I guess maybe must have been easy to find this guy in America. Might have been living near the hospital in a van or something. And a beard and sunglasses. He's pretty covered up, so we don't know if there's going to be some twist with this guy. But we don't really know who he is. We can't place him. And then there is what appears to be a teenage girl behind this guy who has her back turned to us. So it's Jeed. He's happy to see them. Wow, Kiyomaru. Guess you're all grown up now, huh? This necktie you're wearing says it all. And gosh, you've gotten so big. He gives him like a headlock. It's good to... Oh, sorry, Zatch said this. It's good to see you too, Jeed. Hey, gosh, what about Poppy? Is he doing okay? Yeah, and how's Ted doing? Is he safe? So, yeah, let me read the chat back here. Yeah, so Snap is the best says, that's my Sunbeam, which it's not impossible that it's Sunbeam. It would be really weird for Kyo not to immediately call him out as being Sunbeam. As silly as Raikou can be, which we will see shortly just how silly he is. And as much as he likes to defy expectations sometimes, that would be a bizarre thing if Kyo did not immediately say, hey, it's my old pal Sunbeam. Because I think even with that stuff on, you would know if it was a guy that you spent a lot of time with. They're both okay, but they're barely hanging on. We're still going to need help from the book owners like you all to bring them back to life. Bring them back to life? So that means Poppy is dead? So Rupa is based on Whoopi Goldberg. I could do a Whoopi impression, but that, A, it would not be good. B, it would be absolute hell on my voice. She has a very distinct voice, and I'm not going to attempt that. So I'm going to do my best here. Papiprio was the first one to die out of everybody else. Rupa, of course, immediately kind of faints. She probably doesn't really... Well, she's just coming to terms with the situation. At least, Zatch started with the knowledge that they can be brought back to life. Vino told me what's been going on, and I know the situation is grim. But I've got to say, it's a relief to see you alive and well, Gash. And especially with what you just said about reviving the demons we've lost. A note about Pepiprio, which is the sort of new translation of the name. Something that a lot of people in the fandom have sort of come to collectively realize is probably something that was known in Japan for quite a while since the first series came out, is that like how Rupa is based on Whoopi Goldberg, Papi Purio, as he was known, is based on Leonardo DiCaprio. It's a bizarre inspiration. It almost seems somewhat negative, like somewhat derogatory towards DiCaprio to portray him as like this weird little princeling man who is like full of himself. But you can kind of tell when looking at him with that in mind, specifically with his hair. And in his second appearance during the photo arc, he shows up singing the words Gangs of New York, which is a Leo movie, and he has a mustache like many characters do in that movie. I don't think Leo actually has a mustache in that movie, but it's a reference to that movie, which is a Leo movie. So that's the reason for the new spelling of the name as Pepiprio, which makes a lot of sense. And I think, when we see, I forget if I mentioned this on stream before, but when we see Purio in this series, maybe we can expect there to be more references in that regard. Someone tag me on Discord. Hold on. Okay. They tagged me about the big One Piece news, which I just saw on the Netflix thing. It's part of why I started the stream a little later. Okay, so continuing. But enough about that. You've got to tell me. Did Ted grow up nice and tall? Lupa immediately comes back up. Do you have any photos of Poppy all grown up? So Zatch does tell them a little bit about how their Momoto were doing in the demon world. It's nice to see, you know. Obviously, these people still care a lot about their partners. So this person watches them from afar. You get to see them for the first time. They definitely look feminine, but you don't get a real confirmation on their gender. And you might even say that they look like a couple characters that we've seen. And they start to turn away. Seems I'm not needed. I'll be on my way. Sure. Fern! Fern, is that you? So we get to see this person now. Clothing is also slightly feminine. It looks sort of like almost like a one-piece thing, but I don't think it is. I think it's a shirt and just shorts. Interesting kind of vibe, almost like a Native American kind of patterning sort of across the outfit, aside from the jacket. I thought so. You've grown so much, I hardly recognize you. Thanks for coming. We'll definitely have to catch up another time. Don't be a stranger. It's a little awkward. This person clearly just does not want to be there. If they were a previous partner, which we'll discuss, it seems like they skibbity twin. Oh no, I said big One Piece news. Sorry, I tend to speak quickly. No, nothing to do with Annoying Orange. Annoying Orange is long dead. The Polygon puppet is coming. I have a voice. I have a character for him to voice later. So this Fern person, if they were a partner that we know, maybe they're leaving because, you know, their Momoto spell element wasn't one that we picked up during this battle. Maybe they're just leaving because they seem pretty clearly to not want to be there. They don't seem to want to interact with people very much. They might have issues somewhere. I don't know. But that's where we leave it for now with this mysterious person, Fern. They've already left. Fern has left the building. Vino, I can't believe you were able to round up this many people. Awesome, huh? After I got in touch with them all, they made their way here within a couple of days. When I told them that you and Gash would make an appearance, they came right over to the hospital. I've been in contact with a ton of the former book owners from outside the U.S. All that data is being stored on a cloud server as we speak. I'll email you the information you'll need so you can gain access. Thanks. Looks like it worked. I'm able to get in now. This right here is Dr. Riddles' final parting gift to everybody. Just a computer folder named Friends. Dr. Riddle's information gathered on all the partners across the world. Everyone, if I may have your attention, I have an important message for you from the doctor himself. He sent it to me just minutes before he died. Oh, it says murmur. He asked me to show it to you if he wasn't able to make it out alive. The message is pretty long, so I think he must have had it prepared in advance. So he presses play on the remote for this big TV. We see Dr. Riddles' body once again in the morgue. Dr. Riddles. People beginning to cry again. Kiyomaru-kun, Gash-kun, and all of the book owners who were kind enough to gather here today. If you're reading this, or maybe it's a reading this, I guess. I don't know if, you know, there's just means the letter component. But obviously they're kind of watching something too. But if you're reading this, then that means that I am unfortunately no longer among you in the land of the living. Doodle says, I honestly got kind of annoyed that people kept asking about Fern. It's pretty clear that Kyo knew them, even though we presumably don't. Yeah, it was funny how people kept assuming, like, no, I must be missing something as the reader. It's like, guys, like, our memories are not that bad. Like, you know, if you don't know Fern and I don't know Fern, I'm pretty sure nobody knows Fern. But it is funny how that was introduced. So Dr. Riddles, unfortunately no longer among you in the land of the living, clicks to the next segment of this video. But actually, that is a lie. And we see this image pop up on the TV, Dr. Riddle's laughing face and the giant word, kidding, on the screen. Something many people wanted to be true, hoped to be true. And Raze, if I can just say, I think you picked a really good font for this. I don't know what that process was like. I think it's really fitting for what kind of like message this is and the tone of it. I think you did a great job there. Um, and everyone is absolutely stunned. Kyo sort of wipes the tears away, goes, and we immediately get new demon face Kyo, I think for maybe the first time in this series. I like to think this is accompanied by like almost like a lion's roar, or like the sound when in the WarioWare games when 9Volt's mom does her like shadow demon form. There's like a lion type roar. That's what I'm imagining for this. Use the font for the bow roar in the revamped scanlation of ZB1. The font is Bakugan. It's from Bakugan. That's very interesting. So we get reactions from everyone else. Apollo is looks like he's nearly passing out. Jeed is like, I don't even know what that looks like. Just, what the hell is going on? I was so stunned when I saw this. I was like, that bastard Raikou, he actually did it. He actually did it. We move on to the next scene of the video. Suddenly, we're kind of getting serious again. We have sort of maybe a live feed or something that was recently recorded of Dr. Riddles in a hospital bed, somewhere obviously in this hospital. The doctor is attending to him. So you hear the heart monitor going on, beeping. He's got an oxygen tube in his mouth, taped there. And, just a little bit of something I noticed here, that, the first shot of this, you could see that it's sort of, it's like has a bit of an overlay on it to show you that it's on the TV. But then the bottom two panels don't have that to show you that now we're really seeing that he is actually there. Ah ha 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 ha. Did I catch you by surprise? That's right, I'm alive. When Kiyomaru-kun first contacted me, he said that there was a good chance that our new foes would try to seek me out and kill me. See Riddle's looking at a computer at Kyo's email going, that can't be good. It was a frightening prospect, to be sure. So I started formulating a plan to fake my death by taking full advantage of the artificial heart that I happen to be using. Artificial hearts are partially a real thing. I don't think they've been used very much. I think it's a field that people are always trying to make improvements in. It's obviously something that shows up in a lot of sci-fi. One of my favorite movies ever, RoboCop, has very early on a commercial for artificial hearts, including a sport heart. And it's something that probably will eventually exist for real. So we don't know if this, from the looks of it, it looks like the heart is part artificial. His whole heart is not artificial, but he does have this thing that it maybe is like an advanced pacemaker that regulates, and the heartbeat. Vino, feel free to explain. So, the doctor's heart is very frail, so he needed to have an artificial heart implant to keep things running smoothly. So yeah, it's an implant. I managed to tamper with the programming in the artificial heart software so I could make it stop beating on command. So Vino is, I guess, quite the gifted hacker here. I can control it. I can control it remotely thanks to this app on my phone. So that's what I did. So he's got this very simple app that has a heart icon, and then go, and then stop. The Dr. Riddle's life was in his hands with this app. I should, Doodle says ZB is a low fantasy world, so I'm not surprised an artificial heart already exists in 2014. Yeah, I'm not too surprised either. That's not out of the realm of possibility to me. We have, I don't remember how many peaks of advanced technology we got in the first series, but I mean, Dufort was in this whole crazy lab out in the Antarctic. Definitely seem like their technology must be at least a little bit better than ours. I should also mention, A person momentarily stopping their own heart to deceive an enemy is something that happens in one of Raiku's favorite manga, Jodo's Bizarre Adventure. During part 5, one of the characters uses his stand power to reach inside his own body and grab his heart and hold it extremely still so that it won't beat, which causes obviously a lot of damage to him, as it does to Dr. Riddles here. But he survives. We use blood packs meant for transfusions and a rubber knife to stage the scene and make it look like he took a stab wound to the stomach. All that stuff was stored away in his desk drawer. Between all the blood loss and a heart that genuinely stopped, we were sure that even the enemy would be convinced that his death was real, and that they'd leave after that. So that's what we saw last chapter. We saw Belial looking at Dr. Riddle's body. It also happens in part 3. You're right, it does happen in part 3, doesn't it? I forget what happens, but it's not quite the same. But yeah, I do remember it does happen. Zatch Gamer says I had to triple check that panel to make sure it really is Vino saying he did all the program for that, and it is. The hands are a good indication too, right? So yeah, we saw Belial check the special eyes that Dr. Riddles' heart had stopped, is apparently what we saw. And then he allowed everyone to leave. On a side note, the dead body you saw in that video just now, that was just Rocketfoot from the Majestic 12, pretending to be Dr. Riddles under a sheet. He's wearing a big, looks like a carrot attached to his face as a fake nose. Still, we knew going into this that we were about to take an enormous risk. I only had to keep the doctor's heart inactive for about 12 seconds or so. Very short time. But that alone is extremely dangerous. Just because I can push a button to start the artificial heart back up again, it doesn't guarantee that the organic part will still be in a condition to start working again. Right now, he's really on life support because of the toll this plan took on his heart. I'm going to read the rest of the message now. Until I reunite with Kid and restore peace to the world he lives in, I will never lie down and die. I might be incapacitated for a while after this, but I have every intention of joining you in the fight as soon as I'm able. So to Kiyomaru-kun, Gash-kun, and all of the book owners who have decided to jump back into the fray, make sure you survive until I've come to your aid. Zatch Gamer says Dr. Riddles is just the ultimate trickster magician. Of course, nothing was as it seemed, even silly things like that. I beg of you. So we see Dr. Riddles, one of his eyes opens there on the operating table in the hospital bed. Not really an operating table. We don't know how conscious he is, but it seems like his determination is very much there. And his eyes definitely look like the eyes of the answer talker here. It's hard to say if he will now have that power after he did pretty much die momentarily. We will have to wait and see. Raikou could just be showing us his determination here, or he could be showing us that as well. But yes, Howard Friedman lives. That's the end of it. So everyone is still very stunned and sort of annoyed, except for Rupa, who is pretty happy about all that. Kyo is just has this insane look to him. Muscles bulging, still has the demon face. Liar, liar, Riddles, be. I really thought you were dead, you lying sack of shit! He's got like tentacles coming out of his chin. Ah, making us all think you died? That's just horrible! Now Rupa's reacting to Demon Kyo. And then Vino joins in, having been cajoled into being an accomplice in this bizarre plan / prank. Yeah, you liar. Of all that conniving little snake. Dr. Riddles is a deceitful scumbag right down to the core. We don't really know who's saying that. That's the general vibe in the room. So there you have it. Dr. Riddle's not dead. Suddenly, we cut to the Momoto world. Let's see here. Yeah, what sort of death is required to get the ability is unclear. Yes, we do not know. Meanwhile, in the demon world, at the Elio stronghold of the Corvo snowfield. So here we get another great piece by the guest artist Rek, who does a lot of the color backgrounds and locations for the series. I assume Raikou has a pretty big hand in what these are generally going to look like. However, I think Rek does also have a lot of say, because if you see these illustrations, they do resemble Rek's own original works quite a lot. So we have this sort of these buildings with domes on them that are kind of covered in ice. Then above them, we have these sort of, looks like orb spheres of ice that are kind of coming up from them. They look like parachutes almost. And then even above that, we have what looks to be like these like massive flower petals. I'm not really sure what that is, but they're kind of in the background, and they're huge. One of the bigger things we've seen in the Moto world. I'm really not sure what those are or if they will matter at all. So we have something digging through the snow. Okay, coast is clear. He goes to this little snow hidey hole, snow hobbit hole, moves a rock to the side and opens this little door and steps down to see a young girl, child, lying in bed. I brought back some food, Anna. I'll cook it for us, okay? So this reminds me a little bit of the kid from the Gaiden chapter with the tuna can on his head, who had a sick sister who ended up not. I recall not. She was not real. She was dead. She was a doll. This sister I don't think is actually sick. She's just trying to stay warm. So he's cooking the fish on this fire. Using these magic stones which provide heat. It's yummy, big brother. We're running pretty low on magic crystals. I don't know what to do. How am I going to keep this place hot, warm without them? If only I could grab more from Elios, but it's too risky. The enemies already took over the place. And I can't use firewood. It'd make a lot of smoke, so that'd just give us away. What's going to happen to us? Will the enemies find us and kill us? Or are we just going to freeze to death instead? Maybe it really is hopeless. Okay. Yeah, Moo, that was his name. Yeah. Suddenly, some man suddenly appears by this kid, a very strange man in like a full snow expedition outfit. Ah! I'm surprised you two managed to survive out here. You better get out of here right now. There's nothing to see here. Wait, I know. I'm the one you want, right? Well, come and get me. Already instinctually running to save his kid sister. The guy doesn't follow him. Instead, he holds up a chocolate bar with a little logo on it, Momoto chocolate. Is that a Malji chocolate bar? I bet it's been ages since you've had some chocolate, huh? I don't entirely know what voice I'm going to end up using for this character. We're just kind of going to have to wait and see. Just kind of winging it right now. Might change it by the time of the next stream. I've got two, so you can share one with the other kid in that hideout. Huh? How could he possibly know about Anna being in there? Indeed, how could he know indeed? I'm a demon just like you two. Come with me. I'll take you to where my friends are staying. he's crying, because he's being saved. He's able to let go. Justin, hey, welcome. This is clearly Hoth. That man is like something straight out of Star Wars. Yeah, you could say this is pretty Star Warsy, isn't it? So they're now walking in the snow. The new adult demon has got the sister kind of in a, what do you call it, like a bassinet on his front, eating the chocolate bar. Why do you come to this place anyway, mister? I'm scoping out the area so I can draw up a map. A map? Yeah, a map of hope. Oh, we certainly weren't expecting to find you here. It's a miracle you're still intact, but you'll be safe now. I'll leave you to watch over them. Right. What? You're just gonna walk right back into Elios? But it's crawling with bad guys. He just waves. We'll be just fine. He survived the full-scale invasion of the demon world, and this time won't be any different. Besides, he's not going to engage them in battle. He's putting that map together so he can slip inside undetected. The map. We remember him saying, a map of hope. What's on that map anyway? It depicts the location of something that we're in dire need of at this very moment. A map that pinpoints where such things are being kept hidden. So we see a few spell elements in here. Looks like a couple we've already seen. We've already seen the plant one. I forgot what it looked like previously, so this might be a slightly different form of it. We see what looks like maybe Robnos' spell element. And then we see what could possibly be Polygon spell element with a sort of a fiery looking thing with a horn coming out of it. So how does he know where to find that stuff? He has the unique ability to detect them. This person has taken off his snow coat, revealing just a regular suit jacket. He takes off the snow hat, revealing 2 rabbit ears that pop up. And this man, this hero, stands, once again, another color page, in front of the Elios fort. He's discarded his snow clothes. He now is a pink man in a pink suit. We leave the rest to you, Momon. It is Momon, character from Zatch Bell 1, widely known, widely loved by all. He's now grown up, and I don't know if you would say it's a glow up. I'm not sure what you'd say. His eyes are the same. You know, he's got the same eyes. That's what we can say about that. And he's clearly confident in what he's about to do. He's about to infiltrate this tower stealthily to take these spells back. And that is where we end chapter 25 for the month. So, that's a crazy chapter. I'm not sure where we should start the discussion. I guess we should start with Momon. It's crazy to see Momon back. I weirdly got the vibe that this could be him. Not from the kid necessarily saying, hey, how did you know my sister was in there? Which could definitely have been a tell. But there was just something about it where it felt like there's a number of characters this can be, right? I think most people are probably thinking it's either Xeno or it's Wanrei. For whatever reason, I just didn't feel like he'd introduce them, either of them, so soon. And what I thought was going to happen was because the snow hat was very furry, like a Russian hat, I thought the hat was the ears, and that once he took off that strap on the hat, they would just come up. Instead, the hat is actually on top of the ears. But it's interesting that I still ended up getting it right. It's not really based on anything. I kind of just had a feeling. So we'll talk about his appearance. Like I said, he has the same eyes. The rest of his face is pretty different. He was always supposed to look like a monkey, like a weird kind of monkey with rabbit ears. And now it seems like, having grown up, he looks more like a gorilla. So there's sort of a logic to it. He's got the gorilla brow line, and sort of a weird, I don't know, Chad type chin with a smirk. He's still got the very distinct upper lip thing here. I was kind of thought in the original series that was something that was protruding out. Because if I recall, I don't really remember too well, but you know when he lies and it extends, which is a really bizarre trait. I thought it was something that was like kind of protruding out from under his nose. But instead, it's just kind of, I don't know if it's turned into just, a lot of people have these indentations. We all pretty much have them, varying levels of visibility. Raikou likes to draw them as being very prominent. He's got a very wide, big nose, too. And clearly he's extremely confident. I think he's got, you can tell a little bit of what his vibe is like, right? He's trying to sort of be a secret agent. He's wearing a suit. And I think we can expect to see a sort of very confident Momon coming in. Justin says, do you think Momon grew out of his pervy habits? I doubt it, but I don't think they're going to be as extreme or as targeted as we saw in the last series. I think that in Japan the humor is slightly different, but I do think it's a much harder sell in the current day to have an adult character do the kind of things that Kid Momon did. It's even a harder sell to have a kid character do the kind of things Kid Momon did. You don't see that very often in newer manga. I would predict that Momon's perviness is going to just manifest in a different way. It's going to be, I think, he's going to think of himself as being very suave and try to be kind of flirty with women and probably fail at that, kind of like Sanji is often portrayed in One Piece. So yeah, like Zatch Gamer says, a lot of us are wondering that now. Obviously, Momon has really taken Kiyomaru's whole thing of being a hero to heart, and he survived the invasion, and he's now working to get people spells back all on his own. He's using his abilities for something important. So I think we can expect to see him having developed significantly from the first series. Certainly developing his appearance. He's been, you would say the character that has changed the most from the original series, just in their face. But his whole outfit is also different. So really, it's almost like no contest at this point. Like, Tia had an outfit change because of the situation she was in. When we see Tia again, I think we will see her in something a little bit closer to her old outfit. It will probably be something better suited for combat, so we probably won't see her in a skirt. She'll probably still be wearing pants, but I think it will be something with more of the vibes of her old outfit, while Momon does not have that at all. This presumably is his, outfit that he's going to have for most of the series, and it looks pretty different than his old one. So he's the character with the most change that we've seen so far. Conchime also had an outfit that looked like his old one, same with Brago and everything like that. Yeah, Fulgore is a very successful ladies' man. Yeah, the fact that the knife that Dr. Riddles used was rubber was unbelievable. So that was one of the things that made me wonder was, did Raikou plan this out? How much did he plan this out? And there's nothing that 100% says, yes, he always had this planned. Obviously, I was very much in the past streams of the opinion that Dr. Riddles was very dead. I was thinking maybe there's a possibility Raikou could do something, but I didn't think it would happen. I thought Riddles was dead. And, the way the situation is portrayed in the other chapter, the one major thing that does make you think that Raikou did plan this out is the big thing a lot of us were complaining about last chapter, which is that we did not see Dr. Riddles say anything to say goodbye to Vino, his adopted son, before he died. That, I would say, is the one major indicator that Raikou did plan this. That's an interesting point, Zatchable Gamer. Yeah, it could be possible that he planned this entire arc out to take place in a hospital to facilitate that plan. But I think that's kind of more speculation at this point. But having a rubber knife is very funny, definitely. And it's something you can come up with on the fly. I think Raikou has shown both a desire to really do what the fans want in the series, but also doesn't seem to be letting that get in the way of him doing what he really wants to do, such as with Sherry, obviously. So, you could say, oh, Raikou did kill Dr. Riddles. He saw in the month in between how sad people were and how much people were mourning him. And maybe, he'd already had Dr. Riddles nearly die in the first series as what it's one of the saddest moments in the original series. It's the one that really made people cry. And he just felt, I don't want to put fans through that again. I'll just have him come back to life. But that doesn't really seem like him, I will say. It's like, what, he didn't know how people would react to this dramatic scene he was writing? He's been in the manga business for a long time. He's very frequently on social media seeing people talk about this series. He definitely knew. So I am leaning towards him having planned it out, but I do think there could be maybe a little more evidence. So Zatch Gamer does point out something very interesting, that we know that there are some things that aren't entirely figured out too much beforehand, which is that when Rolling Witch first appears, you see a couple shots of her that kind of should show where her core was, and we don't see it. And then when the volume came out, they edited that to show that core. So it seems like they did not know, possibly Raikou and his team, where that core was supposed to be until the chapter where they beat the Rolling Witch. Now, improvisation in manga is actually not as rare as you might think. Akira Toriyama, especially, is known to have been extremely improvisational in Dragon Ball Z. I think people exaggerate the degree to which he was improvisational. However, I think he was very improvisational. I think a lot of what he was doing, maybe not week to week, but certainly groups of 2 or 3 chapters continuing. I think he very much did not entirely know how he was going to develop the plot, what he was going to do, what he was going to introduce. And, you can see that, from his earlier manga, early Dragon Ball and Dr. Slump, or gag manga, which you can literally, you can make that up as you're writing it, And I think he brought some of that into later Dragon Ball as well. And that's really to his credit. It ended up totally working out for him. He was clearly an extremely, emotionally intelligent writer. He was extremely good at just creating exciting plots with twists and turns that still kind of managed to make a level of sense, even with not entirely knowing what he was going to do. But, an example of that in Dragon Ball Z is the Cell Saga. Every villain that was introduced in the Cell Saga, there were no plans for villains after those until Toriyama talked to his editor about them. So we had androids 19 and 20. Toriyama was drawing these guys thinking, these guys are awesome. These are some really good villains. His editor comes up to him and says, these guys kind of suck. It's an old guy and a weird fat little pale guy. You got to have other villains. Then he introduced the twins, 17, 18, and 16. And the editor again was like, I don't know about these guys. They're cool, but, we still need one singular villain. Then he put Imperfect Cell. And Imperfect Cell, we didn't know at that point that Toriyama didn't plan at that point for that Cell would eventually become Perfect Cell. He thought Imperfect Cell was great. Then his editor was like, hey, this guy's weird. He's like a bug. He's like an alien. He needs to look cooler. So you can see kind of how, with that, the editor influencing him, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And with that improvisational bent to him, he was able to pivot to these different villains in that saga. It's pretty interesting. But let's get back to Zatch Bell. I think Raikou plans ahead. Doodle says he might do things randomly at times, but most of it is mapped, I think. I tend to agree. I think that Raiku's had a lot of time to think about this story. I do think, that I'm sure a lot of things do happen naturally as he is drawing and writing. I think, that's natural of anything creative, is that, you can plan as much as you want, but then once you actually start doing the thing, new ideas kind of happen. And I think especially in the fights, I think he probably doesn't really imagine the fights too much in advance. But I think the macro plot here, especially teasing things like the Thunder Dragon Egg, and where Xeno is. Um, he does have a lot planned. Doodle says, I think Toriyama wanted to do Cell from the start, and in the end, he circled back around to it. It's definitely possible. These stories get told in different ways, and then they get translated from Japanese, and then it's been a while since I myself read this stuff. But the point I'm definitely trying to make is just that even if an author doesn't entirely know what he's doing week to week or month to month in this case, that doesn't make him bad. It's just what their process is. Raiku's process has probably not changed at all, much at all, from Zatch Bell 1 to Zatch Bell 2. Obviously, he's made changes to account for him being older and less able to handle that weekly grind. But I think in terms of how he thinks creatively, how he planned a story, probably pretty much the same. And that made a great manga in Zatch Bell 1. It's currently making a great manga in Zatch Bell 2 also. Justin says, I wanted to ask, what did you think of Gash's new Weavy Raru Zakeru? Do you think that has a hidden effect? I think Gash can control the wheels. Didn't we see him doing that maybe already? I think it's a really cool spell. I think it's really interesting how what I said last month, I don't know if you watched last month, I think you were there, was that it looks like Bowserkerga but not alive. So it's got like the scales, and the two wheels are the orbs that Bowserkerga holds in its hands, except it doesn't have life. So it's not a dragon anymore. Instead, it's just one projectile for the head and two projectiles for the arms. That's what I think is interesting about it. I don't know if it has a hidden effect. I think, there are a lot of spells that we saw later on in the series that were just like different versions of projectiles, like Ekosuresu Zakeruga was just a massive lightning blast. So I don't know if there's anything special to this, but I think, when they learn how to use the Thunder Dragon Egg, I think it might be something very similar to the sorcery that the enemies use, where they're able to form it into pretty much whatever they want in different types of attacks. Yes, right. Before, I forget, was it Dr. Riddles who interrupted? I forget how they were interrupted, but when they were fighting him with it, he did split the central projectile in half. It's interesting. Like Zatchbell Gamer says. And Doodle says something we've talked about before also. He has free reign this time. No editor to stop his ideas, which could be good or bad, depending. Yeah, there's only been a couple times where we have pointed it out as bad. One of them was the Vino thing last chapter, which ended up probably being all part of the plan. Okay, so what else do we want to go through here? There's a couple of things. Some things that are fun, some things that are not so fun that I still want to touch on. So Dr. Riddles, we didn't talk much about kind of the reaction to that. My thoughts on that. It's crazy, because I think what I said last month was that there could potentially be a reference to Dr. Riddle's kidding gag, but I thought it would be more serious than this, which is still relatively serious after the initial reaction. What I thought might happen is that he gets brought back to life in some other way. Maybe they immediately discover that he's still alive after the fact. And then once he wakes up, he says, kidding, I wasn't dead. But he was dead, and they just brought him back to life through, real effort, which is kind of still what's happening, but in a different order. Instead, Raikou puts the punchline first and then has the serious part, which is a really interesting way to do it. It still pretty much is mostly serious. It was not a prank from Dr. Riddles. This part is a prank. It was really a plan that was kind of dressed up as a prank. Dr. Riddles took an opportunity to prank people when he saw one, and he roped Vino into it, which is why Vino is standing over the fully awake and alive Rocketfoot in the beginning of the chapter. Just, you don't even see his face because he's going, I can't believe I'm going along with this. um, but in the end, it is both serious and funny, which is, I would say, quite impressive. And I think that this development is going to go over pretty well with everyone. I think it kind of has already. I don't think there are going to be many people who say that was cheap. Why don't you raise the stakes and start killing people? We don't know if Raikou plans to do that. But I would say he still did it quite well, in my opinion. And yeah, the demon face was very nice to see. It's um, it's the photo style demon face where it's got like these like bizarre um, like weird almost alien elements that like aren't particularly demonic, like the nose or the weird like protrusions from his chin. That's how Raikou was drawing it since Fado. The demon face has evolved over the years, it's gotten stronger. So let's go backwards. Let's talk about Fern. The mysterious Fern. Hio knows who they are. We don't, not really. They seem to be a fully new character, but there are a couple speculations. So the thing that immediately came to mind for me and a lot of other people was that this is Ellie, Arth's partner from the original series. She's now grown up. She would be probably around the same age as Zatch, right? She was always very serious in the original series. She always had very serious, penetrating eyes in the original series, just like Fern does now. But if it is Ellie, why the name changed to Fern? We don't know. There's been a little speculation that this character could be non-binary. They could have gone through a sort of change in their own life. Or it could be a Howard Friedman type of thing, where maybe Fern is Ellie's last name, and that's just what she goes by now. We don't know. And yeah, I mean, Fern is such an, like, in what would already be a really bombastic chapter, without Fern, Fern is definitely an interesting point of discussion. And, you know, they just leave. Like I said, I don't think they really wanted to be there. I think that they're heroic at heart, which is why they came there in case they were needed to help. But I think that once they realize the battle's over and maybe Yamamoto's spell element isn't in here, they said, I'm going to take this opportunity to leave. So we don't know when we're going to see Fern again. Fern is just another one added to the pile of things that are to be returned to, right? Like, you know, the Thunder Dragon Egg, Barry, Conchame, Tia, pretty much all the characters who we haven't seen in a while. Xeno's whereabouts, you know, add Fern to that pile. So hopefully this isn't the last thing I will talk about. Just what to expect next after this. I do want to talk about Rupa a little bit. So there was a fair amount of discussion over Lupa being a fairly insulting character in the original series, especially being based on a real person. We now know Whoopi Goldberg, who, yes, is not the best looking person, but she still had a very ugly, almost monstrous appearance. She was very frequently portrayed with her face like growing and changing in weird ways to be funny. And just these exaggerated expressions. She was given a weirdly kind of drawn afro in the series, which is now like a double thing in the sequel. And this already kind of perturbed some people. Not necessarily just African Americans, and some people who are African American didn't mind it at all. But there were plenty of people who did kind of take issue with it. And just pointed it out, even as lovers of Zatch Bell as we are. And then that character, we saw that Raikou does like Lupa, and doesn't just like doing jokes with her, but he does appreciate her as a person, because he gave her a little development later on in the Clear Note arc, when we find out her backstory, which is something that Raikou had planned even from early on. in the volume title page when we see her meeting Pierrot at a graveyard. She's mourning her son. That was nice. However, what was not so nice was a joke Raikou did with Lupa in Animal Land. And I don't want to describe that joke here, but it was very not cool and pretty insulting. And I don't like going in on Raikou too much. It's not in my nature to do that, and I think he's got a good heart. However, I think that it's just not okay what he did with that joke, and I hope he's learned from that. And feeling that way, there was some hope that he would change her character design quite a lot in the sequel. And he didn't do that. There's not much that you could say is specifically like so pointedly insulting, or I'm trying to dance around it, but let's just say racist in the series. Raikou has portrayed his black characters sometimes very well, and his characters of all nationalities sometimes very well, and sometimes not so well. Garza is an interesting character because he is very skilled. He's clearly very intelligent, but he also dresses extremely silly. And I would have liked to see just a more toned down Lupa, something that was a little less funny, a little more real, a person that we could actually look at and go, oh, this isn't a complete joke of an appearance. And just because Raikou did that doesn't mean this chapter sucks. It doesn't mean I hate him now. And even in this manga specifically, he's showing cultural appreciation for other cultures. Showing in Egypt the kids eating dinner, and saying Bismillah and things like that. And he's sort of tried to pay attention to that. One thing I don't like about Lupa's new appearance is her new outfit, which is more like a maid outfit. And that is a very specific stereotype that has a lot of history. I don't also know if I want to say what the name of that is, just so we're not getting too serious here. But there is sort of a black maid or housekeeper stereotype that is viewed as very insulting in the modern day. And we don't know why he gave her that outfit, right? He might just think that's her job now. She's a caretaker of something, right? Because she's like a motherly figure. That could be the logic, right? I'm trying to give Raikou the full benefit of the doubt here. It is something I wanted to bring up, and if any fans were to make like a big deal about it, I couldn't exactly blame them, and I would probably support that if they wanted to do that. If I was to talk to Raikou about this, I would try to oh, you're talking about Promised Neverland, Zatch Gamer. Yeah, and that actually was her position. And that's an odd character because that is one of the more prominent black characters in any manga recently, and it's an opportunity for black voice actresses, for instance, and things like that. But that character is also often portrayed as having like these ridiculous facial expressions, being almost monstrous or scary. And the maid outfit probably doesn't help that. And was it intentional? Is it a coincidence? We don't know. If I was to talk to Raikou about this, I would say to him stuff that I hope he has maybe thought about a little bit. That just think about the real people out there who love your work and love you, that you might not be making feel good by doing this. You might be making them feel very bad and hurt by doing this. That's what I would say to Raikou. But I don't know if I'm really, going to try doing that or ever have that opportunity. I think I am not the person to put that out into social media or whatever. I don't, obviously, for obvious reasons, that cannot be me. But those are my thoughts on it. I did want to bring it up because I think it's kind of an important part of discussing this character. It is something to consider when talking about this chapter. But it is nice to see Rupa again. And it's saying that we'll see Pirio again soon. And I think that'll be a really nice moment when they reunite. And obviously, a lot of what Raikou has done with this series, I've really loved. But I hope we can just continue to, be proud of his work in the series. So yeah, I hope we can continue to have Raikou be, culturally sensitive in other ways, in the portrayal of Zara, for instance, which I think has been really good so far. And we're looking forward to seeing her again. So what do we think is going to happen next? Getting back to the normal conversation. Thank you all for listening to that. I know it was maybe a little weird, a little awkward, but I do think it was something that we kind of had to mention a little bit here. We are now finished with the Dr. Riddles arc, and Dr. Riddles himself has promised, I will return. I will see Kid again. Kid, who we now know is dead, he's got to be revived eventually. So I think we can all look forward to that, all the Kid fans out there. This did not end as dramatically as it could have. Just reading the chat here. Okay. So yeah, thank you all for being responsive to that and making it part of the discussion. So I think we can all look forward to seeing Kid again. I think fans of that team can breathe a big sigh of relief that Dr. Riddles is not dead. But in the human world, they're off to, I'm not really sure where. We just end with them yelling at Dr. Riddles. I think some of these partners like Rupa and Jeed are going to go their separate ways for now. I think Coral Q is going to come along with Kyo and Apollo and Grub. And I think Vino is going to come along. And I still think, there's no real indication of this, I still think that Vino is going to be important. Beyond just being a hacker, I think his connection with Clear is going to be something eventually. We don't exactly know, but I do think it is going to be important. With the Dr. Riddles arc done, who will be on the volume cover for this one? I think it's got to be Coral Q, right? Maybe it won't just be Coral Q. Maybe Dr. Riddles will be there as well. But I think Coral Q has got to be on there. He is the big debut for this arc. I don't know how often we'll see, how soon, we'll see Kyo again. We don't go too long without cutting back to them. I think, I don't even know if we were with Tia. I don't think we had a full chapter of just Tia in the Momoto world when we cut to her, did we? I feel like even then we were cutting back to Pola and, the witch versus Zatch and Kyo. So I think we're going to continue doing that. I think we will see Momon plan out, infiltrate this stronghold. I think it's pretty likely something will go wrong, but I think he will make it out of there. I think we'll see how his abilities have grown. His sort of radar ears that seem to be the strongest sensing ability of any Momoto, which is something that a few Momoto have. And I think it stands to reason that Momon getting these spells back could lead to Porygon here. If Momon gets his spells back. Zatch Gamer just said that. Well, there you go. Yeah, Umagon might have a sarcophagus. I tend to think that Porygon isn't dead. That's just my vibe that I get. He definitely could be, though, which would kind of suck. But I can't wait to finally see him back. It's going to be so cool. And, we've talked about maybe he'll talk. We don't know. But that's going to be great. But first, we will have to see Momon's secret mission. In the real world, I think it'll be time... Ooh, what's going on with the quality here? I do. Okay. I think it'll be time to see... some of the people from past arcs again. Conchime, I think, will be back. Tia might be probably in the human world now with Megumi. And I think we're going to start getting real team fights from here on out, just like we have in the original series. I think these solo fights are probably over. Belial's getting more serious. As we know, his plan this time was pretty good and was only foiled by an insane old man. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the human world next, though. If it's just going to be another fight, if we'll get more just planning from Kyo and them, if they'll just try to go after more human partners that don't have their Momotos yet. It's hard to say, but I do think we will get stuff in the human world next chapter, too. Who knows how Momon's going to interact with Tia? I'm sure it'll be pretty good. I'm sure it'll be funny. Do you think Momon can fight this time? Not really. I think he can fight the same way as he used to, which was pretty effective. I think he's a sneaker, and I think that's always what he's going to be, sneaky guy. So, it would be cool to see Momon and Tia team up or something like that, I still want to see what Patty looks like. Yeah, I mean, there's still so many characters left to review. Rops is one. We already saw Barry. I would love to see Robnos again. Juan Ray, obviously, huge character. Cherish, we saw her in the intro. I want to see more of her spells, though. Carudio. Arth is a huge one. I really want to see Arth. And Millennium Momoto, let's not forget them. Pamoon, Laila. Laila's a big one that I think fans are going to want to see. Kalulu. There's a lot to look forward to. But this stream has already gone on pretty long. I was thinking about reading the cafe this time. I think my voice is kind of tuckered out. I might save the cafe for next time or might just leave it. We had a new volume come out. We had a new cafe chapter with Blue and Zillion of the Zabrit brothers that Brago fought. And that was a good time. I might read that next stream, or maybe you can just go. Everyone here has probably read it by now. It's on Manga Desk now. Manga Dex. Now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Zatch Bill Gamer. Patty's, always been kind of glamorous, and Tia's already the battle girl, right? So I think Patty might be somewhat similar to how she used to be. Yes, she had character development, but, she's still pretty funny person. Okay, so we're going to leave it there. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Can't wait for next month. I think we're probably going to get another chapter without a break. And we got some new merch announced for the series. Some random little cups and cardboard standees and a really cool bookmark. That bookmark is awesome. That's like the thing I want the most from that. More things continuing to happen with the series. Tawakizu still going strong. Who knows what is next for Raikou and Bergen Board. But that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching once again, and hope